We have the individual in the hot seat. Commissioner Jim Matthews, a three-term incumbent, is with us. He's been roundly ridiculed by members of his own party for having, to borrow the phrase, and it may be a negative connotation, and he'll be able to straighten me out on that in a minute, cutting a deal with the sole Democrat on the commission, Joe Hoeffel. So with that, let me welcome Jim Matthews to Abington News and Views. Thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
Jim Matthews says we can talk about anything. So let's start. I thought before, it's a little bit complicated if you're trying to follow Montgomery County politics, how it works. And in preparing to interview you, I asked some people about Montgomery County politics, and I found even the politically savvy people are unaware of what you three commissioners, and we have three commissioners, what it is that you do. We have our local, we have our state, we have our federal, and then we have our county government. And to better understand this so-called deal you cut with Joe Hoeffel, I thought you could start by giving us sort of a Civics 101 lesson in what it is that county government does to serve the residents of Montgomery County.
That'd be a pleasure, Chris. It's a system that goes back 140 years in the county since our founding. It's a three-commissioner system. And what that is if you can picture a mayor and a city council without checks or balances, that's what the three of us do. Hence, you have a two-person majority carries the day on any resolution or any ordinance or any contract that is passed in the county. And it's a very, very direct form of government. And what we oversee is approximately 47 different departments. And many of them are for management of state and federal programs, such as, first of all, in the social services side, the human services side. We have, I would say, $230 million of our $640 million budget is social services. It's mental health, mental retardation, aging and adult services, children and youth. Those programs are federal through the state programs that we manage on behalf of the Commonwealth. It's a system we worked out in the Commonwealth many, many years ago, where the state feels it's more managed, more wisely, more prudently within loco parentis. And that's how that happens. So the balance of government is, in terms of the courts, is a substantial part of our oversight. And that is, we have 21 common pleas court judges. We have a president judge. We have the district attorney's office. We have, these budgets are all handled by the commissioners. Budgets even for independently elected offices, such as the district attorney, the pathonetary, the treasurer, the controller. We handle all those budgets. All in all, our total budget this past year, all things considered, I think was about $630 million. Also, we handle things as down and dirty as roads and bridges. You know, we have 88 miles of county highway that we manage.
Now, roads and bridges, let me get into roads and bridges for a minute. That's a lot of money, federal money comes in. State money comes in for roads and bridges.
And some federal, mostly state money through PennDOT, right?
Now, that would be one of the bigger budgets that you handle at the county level? Right.
We get an allocation of the fuels tax.
Okay.
And it goes back to a formula back from the early 1930s. But yes, and we have about 162 county bridges. These are owned by the county. The 88 miles of highway, 88 miles of our highway mileage in the county is owned by the county. We're one of only 3 counties in the Commonwealth out of the 67 counties that has our own county roads.
Okay.
It was back in the 30s. Everybody had the opportunity to give their roads to the state. Montgomery County chose not to. It was during the Depression. They didn't want to lose the jobs.
And Montgomery County is the 3rd largest county in the state?
Correct.
And you have a budget of?
Again, everything considered is about $630 million.
Okay, so obviously there's a huge responsibility for the county commissioners, and again there are 3, and it's a 2-vote majority that wins the day on any legislation, a policy that you pass.
Correct.
So that this then is the crux of why we're here tonight. The issue is, frankly, that it's a Republican stronghold, Montgomery County. It's heavily Republican. Basically, I think it's a 2/3 majority Republican constituency in this county.
Used to be. It used to be up until about 20 years ago. It's been bleeding consistently since then. It's actually down now to 259 to 219.
Okay.
259 to 219.
You're just to sort of cover the cast of characters here, so to speak, right, for people who are not familiar. I should say the 3 commissioners of Montgomery County are very prominent individuals. They're well known throughout the state. Jim, and he said I could call him Jim, is a three-term incumbent. He was nominated for lieutenant governorship with Lynn Swan, I believe, last year, so he's well known in Pennsylvania. Joe Hoeffel has been, I believe he was a commissioner, two-term commissioner back in the 90s. He was a U.S. House rep. He ran against Arlen Specter for the Senate, and he's back again. So a very well-known guy, very ambitious guy, all three are, and he's a Democrat. He's the sole Democrat on the commission. And our third representative is Bruce Castor, former Montgomery County District Attorney, also very well known. Those are the characters. This is the issue. Jim Matthews has been accused, and I'll direct this at you, you've been accused by your own party, the Republican heads, of basically cutting a deal with Joe Hoeffel, thereby betraying your constituency and betraying your party and weakening the party in Montgomery County. And you're on the hot seat for that. So how do you defend that?
I've heard all that, and it's so fundamentally untrue. It's outrageous. What happened this year is something that's never happened before in the 140-year history of the county, and that is, heretofore we've always had 11 Republicans elected and 1 Democrat. The 1 Democrat by law, because there had to be a minority party Democrat, minority party member as a county commissioner. So we always had Republicans in that position as a majority. Well, there's also the other row offices involved. There's 9 other row offices involved. And this year we had an immense turnaround by the public. For the first time in history, we didn't have 1 Democrat sworn in. We had 6. That is, of the 12 members of the row who were sworn in on January 7th this year, 6 Democrats, 6 Republicans. It was shocking. It was unexpected. People have been talking about for years, oh, one of these days Montgomery County is going to go Democrat. And as I said, the tightening up of those registration numbers has kind of reflected that anxiety. What finally happened this year? Well, what happened was 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and you say, well, for the most part, the county is run by the commissioners. The row officers run their own individual fiefdoms, from the DA down to whatever. But the interesting thing is that jobs are controlled by the salary board. The salary board is not made up of the 3 commissioners. It's made up of the 3 commissioners and the controller. So the controller is the 4th vote in hirings and firings for the vast majority of the county employees. Approximately 2,000 of the 3,200 county employees are hired or fired. Excuse me, their jobs are approved, their salaries are approved by the salary board. So what we had was, for the first time in history, we had hiring, firing, transfers, and promotions now facing a 2-2 tie. First time ever. It wasn't really anticipated. We thought perhaps that we might go down in certain offices, but we never really anticipated winning the commissioners and losing the controller. So here you had
I've read that. I'm trying to, I've actually read that, and I'm not understanding it. So how does aligning yourself with Joe Hoeffel, and let me explain this alignment. Right. By aligning yourself with Joe Hoeffel, you became chairman, and the deal was he would become vice chairman.
Okay.
And to my best of my belief is, if this cause is that it helps the voting process, excuse me, which I'm not understanding, because your own party leaders have said it's very thin reasoning, the reasoning that you're using.
Certain party leaders. There's 15 or 20.
The only ones that are being covered in the press seem to be the ones that are saying this is very thin reasoning.
That's correct. I just sent a letter out to 800 committee people explaining, after 5 or 6 weeks of this nonsense in the press, what happened. I received 2 anonymous responses that were negative. Everything else positive.
Okay.
Everything else positive. Letters, emails, phone calls.
Simplify it for me, because I'm not understanding it. I read this explanation. Because it's so evenly split now, is what basically you're telling me, with everybody, right, Democrat and Republican, you felt it was more strategic, more helpful to align yourself with the Democrat. How does that help? The
only thing wrong with this so-called deal was it should have been Matthews Castor make deal with Hoeffel, not Matthews and Hoeffel. It should have been Matthews Castor with Hoeffel to come up with a coalition government facing the reality that all hiring, firing, promotions, etc., for the vast majority of the jobs were facing a 2-2 tie. 1,200 of the jobs out there are not facing a 2-2 because those are a 5th person, that is involving row offices. When it's a row office job, the row officer sits in as the 5th vote, as the tie-breaking vote. But think about that. Of the 9 row offices, 5 are controlled by Democrats. So the 5th tie-breaking vote is the Democratic row officer.